next guest really does not need an introduction. And if you know your drag history, which I'm sure it's no one here, I'm sure that all of y'all know, is Ruby Rance, who started his drag career in 1973. It continued throughout Stonewall and was an advocate throughout those years and was one of the pioneers around drag performance here in New York and helped to make it possible just so that we can have this conversation today about drag across the generation. So please welcome Ruby Rance. Okay, so our next guest is DJ Pierce Aka Shangela, who is a multifaceted performer, singer, dancer, actor, and arguably the most successful and most enduring RuPaul's Drag Race contestant in history. So help me in saying hallelujah to Shangela. Yes. And our last guest is proof that drag does inspire young and old and all those in between. Desmond Is Amazing is a young drag performer who's now emerging and inspiring young people his age. And it's all because of the support of his family that allows him to express and to explore this performance and expression of himself. So please help me welcome Desmond Is Amazing. Woo!
Work, work.
Yes. How did you and when did you discover the drag art?
I was 18 years old and I came into New York City. I lived across the river in Newark, New Jersey. And I went to my first gay bar, which was the Round Table over on 50th Street. And I went there a few times, and one night there was a drag show. And I saw it and I went, wow, I could do that. I could do it better. and so 2 years later, at 20 years old, I started doing drag.
Awesome. And Shangela?
My first kind of introduction to drag would have been when I just moved to Dallas to start college. And I was dancing at my first gay bar that I got to go to because I was 18. I was like, I'm in the gay bar, yay. So I was in there dancing, and my good friend, who is now my drag mother, and from RuPaul's Drag Race, Alyssa Edwards, was competing in drag pageants at the time. And she came up to me on the dance floor and she was like, who do you dance for? And I was like, no one, I'm just here dancing. She goes, uh-huh. Well, you dance for me now. And I was like, okay. So I went to the studio and we started touring, dancing back up in a lot of the drag pageants. And so that's what was my first introduction to drag, backstage, in the dressing rooms, and just getting to see how much work and how much creativity and how resourceful the queens were. I did 10 shows and then ended up, the casting people from RuPaul's Drag Race were there and said, you should put in an audition tape for season 2. And I was like, no. And then I was like, yeah. And then I thought, I'm about to win this $20,000 to make all my dreams come true. Well, I was home the next day, but even still. But that's how I kind of got into drag and just felt I never gave up, and now here I am today with you.
Awesome. So Desmond, what inspired you to get into drag? Or what sparked that inspiration? You said, I'm going to do this right here, right now.
RuPaul's Drag Race.
Hey!
I was like memorized by what was happening on the show, so I just didn't play with my toys at that time. And then I started like wrapping towels around myself as dresses.
Yes, towels.
They didn't look elegant. They didn't have all the beads and rhinestones and glitter.
I love it. Towels is true fashion. If anyone saw me creating costumes, that's basically how I did it too, baby. So you were great.
Okay, thank God I'm not alone.
Awesome. So it's kind of like what Shangela just mentioned, like being resourceful.
Oh, I thought you were going to say me season 2. I was like, hey, now hold on. Say no roast. No, you're right.
In what ways have you seen drag performance create a safer environment for LGBTQ people?
Well, I think for the magic of television, between RuPaul's Drag Race, and it's become more mainstream. And we still have a very, very long way to go. There are transgender children who are not being able to work, who are still being beaten up, who are still being abused. Many, many years ago, when I did Phil Donahue, for those of you who don't know Phil Donahue is Google, it was, let's watch the freaks. Now, it's let's watch the drag queens.
hats off, especially to you, Mama, who've, went on shows that were really the only outlets, I believe, at the time. There were very few outlets to even see drag queens. For a small gay black kid in Paris, Texas, even seeing drag queens on TV, even in the face of an audience that always was, you would get looks like, all that, even to see you guys on TV standing proud as who you were and saying, this is my life, I'm here. And it gave visibility to people that didn't have a lot of visibility. So thank you for doing that. I'm sure it couldn't have been comfortable always going onto those type shows.
Because they were like the comment section. Talk shows in the 80s and 90s were like the comment sections on Facebook in real life, right? So like it's amazing that Ruby Rance was and still continues to be the inspiration and provide that visibility that inspired you. And now you're doing the same for people who are like Desmond, who are emerging artists, right? So Desmond, my question to you is, what is your favorite song to perform to?
My favorite song to perform to is, let me think. 10 years later, I'm still. Cardi B.
Yeah! My favorite to perform would be anything Beyonce. I love Beyonce music, and it's allowed me to connect with so many people around the world through music as a drag queen. Sometimes we perform live, but a lot of times we lip sync. And so when you have a person who has so much heart and passion in their music, and you love it, it's good. Okay, Beyonce. And plus, I got to, 10 years later, after my first number I ever performed was Beyonce's Single Ladies, and then fast forward to this year at the GLAAD Awards,
yes.
I got to perform for Beyonce. And then I got to meet her backstage, and I'd never met her like in person, like, hi, my name is, so nice to meet you kind of thing. So I practiced in my head, like, what am I gonna say, what am I gonna say? I wanna say like, I wanna honor you, I love you. Like, I had so much to say, and all I thought when I got there was like, she was like, she goes like, you were so good. And I was like, thank you, you are so good. And she was like, thank you, I could tell you were in it. And I was like, you are so always, everything she said, I just repeated back to her. And then at the end, I was like, girl, I'm so happy I can go to Popeyes. And she was like, ooh, I wish I could go too. And I was like, okay, thank you, bye. And I was like, why did you say that? But anyway, it was great, it was really great.
Ruby, where do you see, or where do you hope to see drag and LGBTQ people 50 years from now when we're back here celebrating and doing a live taping of Kiki's with Louie at the 100th anniversary of Stonewall?
Well, I'll be here.
We'll have immortality.
Because at the end of the world, it's going to be me, Cher, and Roaches.
Okay.
I would hope, wherever I am, that there is more acceptance all over the world. There's more peace, not just for drag, but for everyone. And that everyone can always be themselves, no matter what they are.
What is your hope for other young people who want to do drag like yourself?
Oh, my hope is that they can just do them without their parents or their friends or whatever, which if your friends do that, then you're not their friends, obviously. But if your parents or like anyone else says you can't do it, I hope that it doesn't exist. In 50 years, thankfully, I'll probably be able to see it because I'll probably still be alive. I'm only 12.
So what is your favorite part of Pride, and why is Pride so important to you?
Pride has always been being able to show who you are and what you are. And never be ashamed of what you are. If people tell you you shouldn't be, tell them to go themselves.
I think it's important that we have Pride and we have these marches and these celebrations to remind us that we are exactly who we are supposed to be. And it starts right here when you look in the mirror and you have to love and embrace every part of yourself and not be ashamed of it and not let society shame us for who we are and how we love and how we behave and go through life as human beings, because that's what we are. We are all human beings, and everyone counts and everyone matters. So I think Pride is a great time that we remember that we should be proud of who we are and not ashamed, no matter if there's no one around us who is like us, or if there are times. You know, we have to accept ourselves and not be ashamed to share that with others, because when we can share our most authentic selves with others, then we can all become a better and closer community together. So I think that's really important about Pride. And it's also, we have to remember that the work that we did to get us here is not over. And that's why we have to stay involved, stay informed, register to vote, be active, actually get out there and vote, tell a friend to vote, and don't be shy. You know, I used to be very, I get long answers, I apologize. But, you know, I was thinking when people in my community or like in my family even would be afraid to say gay, they would just say, you know, growing up in a black household, sometimes it's totally different. Yeah, and some of you may have a similar experience, but like, they would dance around issues of gay. If I brought home a date, it'd be my little friend, not like a boyfriend or someone I'm going out with. It's just, oh, that's his friend. We're both very gay and obviously gay, but it's important that I started saying, no, it's not my friend, this is my boyfriend. And you guys have to address this person as my boyfriend. My friends are gay, not, the word gay is not a bad word. I love seeing, you know, Desmond and his mom, and at Pride, so many families coming out because people are talking about gay, and it's not a taboo thing. It's just what it is.
My mom grew up in a Roman Catholic house, and her uncle was gay, and whenever he ate at their house, my mom told me that her parents would throw away the china that he ate on.
Yeah. Well, we've all, I think, and that's a good story for you to know, because people will discriminate, and you will see it in your families right close, and you got to call it out. And that's what we have to do even with the administration now. When you get into rooms of people that are coming up with this rhetoric that is, whether it's anti-black or anti-gay or anti-trans, if you don't agree, being silent is no longer an okay thing. You need to open your mouth and say something.
Oh, Desmond, you know, even having your mother, like when you're visible and the love and support of your family is visible, it inspires other families and lets other mothers and other families know that they're not alone and that they can do this. We all love RuPaul's Drag Race, and we all love a good drag show every now and then. But we must keep that same energy when it's not just for our entertainment. The Trump administration has just declared that they think it should be legal for insurance companies and medical providers to discriminate against transgender, gender nonconforming, and gender non-binary people. LGBTQ young people already face several obstacles when trying to access medical care. That is why Advocates for Youth is working in coalition with trans-led projects to make sure that this rule does not go into full effect. We need to submit thousands of comments to the Department of Health and Human Services, but we need your help. You can take action by going to protecttranshealth.org to make sure that this rule does not take place and make sure that your voices are heard. So what are we going to do? Protect trans health! Protect trans health! Protect trans health! Protect trans health! Well, this is cute.
Louie.
Oh, hey. Well, I want to thank you for watching Kiki's with me, Louie. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like and subscribe down below. And I want to hear your thoughts and experiences on this topic. So drop a comment, let's keep the Kikis going.